Welcome back. Now it's time for us to get into the papers. We have the Punch, the Guardian, and some of the papers that we also have on our table. So we'll be delving into the papers very, very quickly. And we also might be joining our correspondent on the streets of Lagos, who will be letting us into sampling the opinion of Nigerians as they react to stories that made it to the cover pages of the dailies. Now, without wasting further time, let's get into it. I am Moses Humphrey.
And I am Chukuma Okoro.
All right then. So, from the Punch newspaper, the headline here reads, Subsidy, FG spends 236 billion naira monthly on imported Dangote petrol. Marketers, others back Dangote on subsidy removal. Man lifts over 50 million liters of Dangote petrol. On top of the right on top of the nameplate, we have banditry. Zamfara governor reports defense minister to NSA. CBN banks sell $9 billion as naira weakens to 1,670 naira a dollar. Edo APC dismisses poll fraud. Police recover stolen beavers. And that's on page 2 of the paper. Onga 79, Tinubu seeks debt forgiveness for Nigeria. And also, I go further down, we have new interest rate may worsen bad loans, OPS. Kanu, court drama as judge steps down. Kanu, court drama as judge steps down. And also, FG explains minimum wage, July 29, back pay. Lagos man jailed 8 years for child molestation. Works begin on FG's 2025 budget. All right, so these are the headlines. And of course, the banner headline speaks to subsidy and the Dangote refinery. Dangote himself has come out to say, he has come out to lend his voice to the removal of subsidy. So yes, it should stay gone as it is. And marketers, others, they've also come out to support Dangote's stance on the removal of subsidy. Interestingly, as it is, queues have persisted. It's not just driving. It's not as easy as it used to be, where you just drive in, buy, and go. And this is even as Nigerians are purchasing PMS for 910 naira in some places, a little over 1,000 naira in other places. So this conversation is not leaving our table anytime soon. The conversation around subsidy, fuel, availability of it. And if you go by antecedents, almost every December, there is scarcity of fuel. Every December, there's scarcity of fuel. I don't know what to attribute that to.
During the Buhari era, I think there were like 3-4 years when we didn't have
I don't recall.
No, I do.
I don't recall.
No.
Because during the Buhari era, I recall
Buhari was in
office stations.
Buhari was in office for 8 years.
I recall.
I think there were like 1 or 2 years in my area, where I stay.
I was
from the south. I was in the southeast then.
Okay, maybe in the
I was in the southeast.
Maybe in the southeast.
We had it was seamless, transition from the Ember months to the New Year, and there was no first class. Like
I have a memory. I have a memory of queuing. It became a norm. I don't know for how many years I did so, but for most parts of his tenure in office, I was at the filling station. It was something I prepared myself for.
Okay.
When it gets to December 10 to 15, I always have a jerry can in the car. I have a hose. I have a funnel in the car because I slept at the filling station 1 year. I can't remember. I think 27, was it 2018? I think 2017 into 2018 or 2018 into 2019. Yeah, I think 2017 into 2018.
I think it was a Lagos thing.
It was a Lagos thing.
I think it was a Lagos thing because I also recall that some people commended the president. Like if the issue of fuel scarcity during the Ember months is been made away with. I recall either 1 or 2 years. But apart from it, a lot of people will disagree with Aliko Dangote and the marketers that subsidy should be removed. You know, Nigerians clearly believe that, look, they are entitled to subsidy on fuel, on petroleum products, because on fuel anyway, because we are a crude oil producing nation. One, and two, is welfareist to the extent that it spreads across, you know, demographics. Everybody, you know, young, old, oldest, aged people, you know, everybody has one thing or the other to do with fuel. Considering the fact that in other parts of the world, some sectors, you know, are also subsidized. Like we did mention yesterday about power being subsidized in some parts of the world. So if fuel subsidy is given to us, like we had, it shouldn't be a problem. The problem I have with fuel subsidy is that it wasn't properly managed by the government. That is the major issue with subsidy. Okay. And it is continuing, the removal, like I always say, and some people always say, that the president's acquiescence, you know, to the removal of subsidy on the grounds that it had been hijacked, you know, by a cabal, is clearly a statement of his inability to fight corruption. A lot of people have said that. I mean, if the president means well, he should go after Moses, our population, give or take 220 million Nigerians. And in the first subsidy business, we had less than 100 people. Is the president now telling us that he cannot rein in those 100 people, you know, and make them pay, you know, for what they did to Nigeria in the past 20 years? Now you are punishing Nigerians because of just about 100 people. It doesn't make sense if you ask me. You know, so the issue of subsidy, Aliko and the importers are entitled to their opinion. A lot of Nigerians will disagree with them that they should have subsidy. You know why? So that the pump price of fuel, if the government can't give fuel subsidy, why don't you now reduce the pump price of fuel? So that the economy that is sloping down will be rejigged and it will come back again. Unfortunately, as they are removing the subsidy on fuel, they are also removing subsidy on power. And these two...
There's been an increase in tariff.
In tariff, yes. You know, these two sectors hold the key, you know, to our economic development. So it's difficult for Nigerians to understand why they can't have subsidy on fuel or why the price of fuel cannot be reduced. Yesterday we talked about Libyans paying 52 naira per liter of fuel. Yet we are paying for it at 1,100 naira, with projections that it might even hit 1,500 in the coming months.
Oh yes.
You know, so it's a little bit difficult for Nigerians to understand, if you ask me.
All right, let's move away from that story now.
Let's go to hunger. Let's go to hunger.
Oh yes.
Our president has asked for
debt forgiveness.
Debt forgiveness. You know, for Nigeria.
Asking for debt forgiveness, and we're also seeking for a place at the Security Council, seeking for a seat at the. So it's both conversations. Debt forgiveness, seeing how we have managed, I use that word loosely, our debts, you know, in previous years.
Not just managing our debts, managing the money, the loan itself. And currently we're asking for $1.7 billion from World Bank or IMF. I think the World Bank. 1.7 billion naira.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not out of place, you know, for the president to ask creditor nations for debt relief. We had that. Obasanjo did that, and our debts were cleared, you know, in one fell swoop. The London and Paris clubs, you know, cleared our debts, you know.
But interestingly, Nigerians are against this. Nigerians are saying, why ask for debt relief or debt for forgiveness when the monies that you have gotten, in fact, the monies, the loans, were mismanaged. You use them
in our local parlance, we will say that is the cocoa. That is the cocoa. That is the meat of the issue.
A largesse.
That is the meat of the issue. I mean, you go to UN and ask for debt forgiveness when you are buying presidential jet. You are using 21 billion naira to renovate residences. I understand that number 4 Downing Street is just a 4-bedroom apartment. Angela Merkel, at the time before she exited office, she was using a personal appointment somewhere in Berlin where she shared with her husband, Joachim Saw. I mean, in all of this, you're asking for debt relief. You borrow money. Out of the money you borrowed, you dole out 70 billion naira to legislators. Go and buy new suits. Go and buy new abada. Retrofit your wardrobes and all of that. I mean, and you are asking for debt relief.
So in your own analysis, you think this will not be attended to?
Almost like Nigerians, like you have said Nigeria, you just read out Nigerians' reaction.
Back home, Nigerians are against it. Nigerians are upset because Nigerians have seen how the president, how this administration has used monies borrowed to purchase basically a good life for themselves. So Nigerians are saying, why ask for debt forgiveness, debt relief? But the way we think in Nigeria may not be the way those that have given us the money think. Don't you think for some reason...
They think the same way.
You don't think that for some reason they might just let this go?
I'm coming to that. They think in the same way that we do, because Moses, after the hunger, the creditor nations, will have a meeting after the meeting. The meeting behind the meeting or meeting after the meeting to review Nigeria's economic indices. This is how much they borrowed. They said they were going to use this to fix power. What is their power rating? What is the power out growth rate and all of that? They said they were going to use this money to build infrastructure. What infrastructure have they built and all of this? Meanwhile, when you take these loans, they are supposed to be invested on productive sectors of the economy. Moses, do you also consider that we use close to 90% of our revenue to service debts, not to repay? Not to repay, just to service. So that is what the international community, that is what the creditor nations will be looking at.
Don't you think that's the more reason they will forgive and write some of these debts off?
I don't know why they did before, why they wrote it off. Probably it's difficult for me to say why they wrote it off. Diplomacy. Let's make the world a better place. It's not up to 30 years that they forgave your debt. You borrowed more than you had before. Now you are coming back for another debt forgiveness. Probably they will give you debts now and tie it to your national assets. Like what the Chinese, are doing to Africans. Chinese will give you a loan.
Loans, yeah.
They will give you a loan. They will be the one to provide manpower. They will be the one to provide equipment. They will be the one to provide technical support for that same project. And you know what? The collateral, your natural assets. They took over one airport in Uganda, or where, and they are building the Belt Road Initiative, to connect China, Far East Asia, and up onto the Middle East and the Horn of Africa. That is the plan, so that they can take your resources. Moses, debt forgiveness is not going to happen, if you ask.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
All right, then. The conversation between former governor of Zamfara State and former governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawale, and the current governor, Dauda Lawal. The current governor has, according to this paper, The Punch, he has reported defense minister to the NSA. If you look a little deeper into that story, the current governor is accusing the former governor, who is the Minister of Defense, of involvement in banditry, of having close ties with bandits in Zamfara State. And he said, look, that he has reported to the NSA with facts of Matawale's involvement in banditry in the state. Chukuma.
Well, it's a good one. And like you said, the controversy...
With facts.
Yes, with facts. The controversy has been ongoing, between...
This is the Minister of Defense.
More like an altercation between the sitting governor and his predecessor. Look, you are behind insecurity. You are behind banditry in Zamfara State, and I am not. Now, the governor says, I have reported him to the NSA with facts. I wouldn't know the facts, that the governor put out before the NSA. But I also know that one cleric, you recall, like 2 weeks ago, there was a cleric that said, Bello Matawale, you cannot tell us that you don't know the whereabouts of Turiji Bello, because you were giving him logistics, you were paying him money. Beyond that, there was also a circular out there on social media. Were we able to confirm that, but it was out there, where we had a list of bandits, who were being recommended for monthly payment or quarterly payment from the state government. But most is beyond in all of this. The concern of many Nigerians is you had a governor of a state that was clearly enveloped by banditry, terrorism, or whatever we call it. Now, this man, after 4 years, he sought to continue his tenure. And the good people of the state said, no, you didn't try. I mean, you couldn't fight insecurity, you couldn't fight banditry for the 4 years you were governor, and they rejected him. Having rejected him, they elected a new person to govern them for the next 4 years. Now, we had our president take this same governor that was rejected by his people and made him...
Whose tenure was fraught with...
banditry.
Yes.
The man was practically chased out of the state by bandits. He spent the better part of his tenure in Abuja. We have a president pick this same person and made him Minister of State for Defense.
Now, this same person is accusing the sitting, that's the governor of the state, and the one General Gusau retired, of being involved with bandits. So it's the governor is accusing his predecessor, the predecessor is accusing the governor, and he's saying, look, swear by the Quran if you are not. Now, you just reminded us of the fact that Matawali was chased out of town because of bandit activities within his state. Do you think, going by antecedents, going by a few things that we've seen happen around us, don't you think, I'm trying not to put you on the spot here,
I understand.
but don't you think there might be some truth to what Matawale is saying? Because, I mean, they had to unseat him for this administration to come into power, the Lawal administration. Now he's saying, Lawal, you and retired General Gusau are the ones involved in
banditry.
Yes.
Moses, I catch your drift. It's like asking whether Boko Haram and the issue of Chibok girls and all those kidnappings there in between 2012, 2013, and 2014, whether it was effectively used to push out the Jonathan administration from office. You know, so these are intelligence issues. And I don't like the fact that the governor and the minister are going back and forth. But I also like the idea or the fact that it's been raised, you know, it's been escalated to the level of the NSA. Now, the NSA is in charge of more like the intelligence community in Nigeria, security agencies and all of that. He's supposed to report to the president. In actuality, the NSA is supposed to be holding daily presidential briefing with the president to keep him abreast with development in the security and intelligence communities. The intelligence community should be able to crack this and really tell Nigerians, the people, who is telling us the truth. Is it the sitting governor that is telling us the truth? Or is it the sitting minister that is telling us the truth? I don't like the back and forth. It's more like a child's play. It puts us across, you know, as unserious people. I mean, we have an issue that has trailed us for close to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and we can't get a handle on it. What does it speak about us? It clearly shows that, look, we are not getting it right. So I expect that now that the issue has been escalated to the desk of the NSA, I don't want all this, Nigerians don't want this back and forth. Nigerians want the NSA or whoever that is involved, the concerned authority, to come and tell us, look, these are the people behind banditry and insecurity, not just in Zamfara State, but in the Northwest region and other parts of the country. I've always made a case, you know, of unpacking the whole issue of insecurity across the 6 geopolitical zones, because what is causing insecurity in the Northwest is different from what is spiking it in the North Central. And again, in the Northeast, if you come down south, in the Southwest, in the Southeast, and the South-South, there are different issues that cause insecurity. So what the government needs to do is to unpack it holistically and stop treating it as law enforcement, because it's gone beyond law enforcement. The military is actively involved. Intelligence community is actively involved. We don't want to see soldiers hounding civilians. We want to see soldiers go after terrorists and bandits and bring them to book. That is the only way Nigerians can believe, look, that this government is sincere in fighting insecurity. Anything short of that, I'm afraid Nigerians will not take it.
All right, then. Another issue of major concern here. It's one of the headlines in the Punch newspaper. Yes, the Senate reconvened yesterday, and you're smiling. We've talked about this before, but it's still in the paper, so we'll also chime in. They reconvened, and first is to swear in the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and also to begin works on the 2025 budget. Okay. Isn't it troubling that 2024 is not over? We've had supplementary budgets. We have elongated 2023 budget. It was elongated, and then we have not finished implementing the 2024 budget. We are already talking about working on 2025 budget. Chukuma,
Moses,
you are the prophet.
Moses,
you prophesied that when they return, when the lawmakers come back, it will be to work on the 2025 budget. Your prophecy has come to pass.
Exactly.
Where is the way forward?
Exactly.
Now?
Moses, the way forward is this. Let's deal with the issue of the confirmation, of the CJN. Like I said, we had a bit of it during the banter in the morning show. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. I can't recall on top of my head when a presidential nominee was stood down, except for the case of El-Rufai recently, the case of El-Rufai that happened. But talking about the CJN, my concern is not in approving the nomination, or confirming her nomination. She's already been sworn in, by whoever that swore her in. The thing now is that it has to be sent to the National Assembly, the Senate, to confirm her. It's a tradition we inherited from the United States. And in the United States, Moses, the legislature prides itself, as more like a first among equals, because they believe that the legislature was convened before the executive. So there's that pride, about the way legislators carry themselves in the United States. So that is why they insist on confirming presidential nominees. And that is a tradition we borrowed. But the difference here is that on our own, there are certain parameters, that we use in appointments. The issue of this, who serves as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, it's top issue in the United States because it has to do with issue-based leanings. Like, if a Republican president is appointing a CJN, the consideration within the House will be, what is the pedigree, what is the antecedent of this particular individual? On issues of abortion, it will be, is the person pro-choice or pro-life? On issue of capital punishment, it will be, where does this individual swing? Because it is topical and central in the discourse in American politics. It will be in the issue of, is this person pro-tax? Or is this person advised to tax? And all of that. And that is what I want to see the Senate ask questions. Like I said a bit of it in the morning, there are confirmation hearings in the U.S. Senate that spans like 12, 14, 15 hours and continues the following day. We don't want to see Kekere take a bow and leave. We want to know her position on certain critical issues. We want to know, what does she think about the LGBT? What is her take on abortion? What is her take on child education? What is her take on how our elections terminate in the law courts? These are things that we need to find out from her before she is clearly confirmed by the Senate. I think that is what Nigerians are looking at.
Well, that's what some Nigerians will want to see.
Yes. Now let's delve into the budget. Moses, we and I, we always say it now. If you are on the table, we are on the table now, you are eating. You observe table manners. You don't talk when you have meat in your mouth. So the thing is this: the budget is actually supposed to be a statement of priorities. Income, exit, what you get and what you spend. Is that what we have in Nigeria? More like it is used to line the pockets of some people. The senators are going to consider constituency projects very huge. You know, like in Dume said, all animals are equal. Some animals are more equal than others. People were struggling with 500 million naira. I said, I got 1 billion naira. And the same man turned out to say, look, if you are corrupt and it's not up to 1 trillion naira, why do you have to worry this young man? Please look, because there's so much money. 1 trillion naira, that's when we begin to look at you.
The argument also is that the monies they get, they give back because people come to them asking for assistance.
Will people go to them if they had done the needful? If the gap wasn't there, if they closed the gap? Moses, if I have fuel in my car, will I ask you to lend me money to buy fuel? Certainly I will not. So it's clearly an indictment on the legislators if they put out that argument, because gaps are supposed to be closed. Away from constituency projects, they have oversight functions. How are the industries working? We have a Ministry of Industry, we have Ministry of Economic Development and Budget and all of those things. How do they oversight those departments, those ministries, to ensure, that policies are implemented and that monies doled out for those projects are used for that particular project? If you do those things, the gaps will be closed and people won't be coming to you. Nobody likes to be a beggar. It's as simple as that. Nobody likes to be a beggar. So the issue of budget, I knew it was going to be on the front burner at the moment the Senate reconvenes, because September is trailing off. October is ahead of us, and we are left with 3 months. So they will have 3 months, to do all the purging, all the surgery, all the padding, all the, that is involved in the budget. And I understand too that some legislators have learned their lesson, because if you talk too much about budget adding, let's not use the word padding now. If you talk too much about budget adding, you might be suspended. Refer to Abdul Ningi, who is more like silent. But some people have said that from where Abdul Ningi stopped, the civil society should have taken up from there. Well, and that was the last we heard about.
Sarah did. They wrote. But you see, it's just so. There's just so much.
When we talk about taking it up from there, it doesn't end in. It's about consistency, and it's not supposed to be a lone wolf attack. Serap is more like all alone in all of this. We read out the number of NGOs, registered in 4 years, 51,000 or so. And what do? Everybody is begging for money for one project or the other. But do we have evidence to show that the money sent from overseas and locally, that they are being used judiciously? These are the issues. So Nigerians, the Senate is going to consider a budget, 2025 budget, starting from when they reconvene. I think we should also make an input there. Moses, what do you say?
If we are consulted, yes, we will.
No, I mean Nigerians.
Nigerians. Well, it's unfortunate, really.
We have a representative, so our representative should actually speak for us.
It's interesting that you're sounding this way. I know this is for the benefit of argument, but the representatives, have they spoken for... The
senators are also our representatives. They're also our representatives.
Have they represented?
No, what we are saying is that they should stop representing themselves.
They tell you that they can't even go to their constituencies because of bad roads. That's why they need exotic cars to go to their constituencies.
Moses,
where those that elected them are.
You can say that again.
So they are not there to, unfortunately, they don't seem like they're there to, to represent the people, unfortunately. Oh, well, another headline here, still from the Punch newspaper, speaks to Edo elections, where APC has dismissed the allegation of fraud at the polls. They've also, police have also recovered stolen beavers. Well, the headline here reads, Edo, APC dismisses poll fraud. Police recover stolen beavers. And some members of the APC, in advising the PDP, have said, look, don't even bother going to court, Don't bother going to court because it's going to be a waste of time. They sound very sure that the PDP has no case. And they will not win in court. When I saw this, I cringed a bit because I think this is quite audacious to say, don't bother. I would not consider this a political statement. Don't bother going to court because you don't have a case.
That statement is coming from the quarters of the APC, right?
From the quarters of the APC.
Yes, but is it not a little bit conflicting, considering the fact that the deputy governor-elect also said, if you are not satisfied with the election results, you go to court. You know? And now, Moses, it also speaks to what I raised when we discussed the issue of confirming the CJN. Should our elections end up
in courts?
In courts. And what is the role of the court, you know, in validating election results? Have we lost it?
In fact, the school of thought has it that, going back to the issue of appointment of the CJN, the school of thought has it that, and I align with that school of thought, that the position of the CJN should be an elective position, not appointed.
Moses, I also did say something about sortition. You know, sortition is also a process of randomly sampling people together, putting people together, and now voting for them. In some positions, some judicial positions, like the position of, executive judicial, the position of Attorney General of some states in the United States is actually by election. You know, you go for election to be appointed Attorney General of the state. I remember about Arkansas. Clinton was the Attorney General of Arkansas before he even became the governor of Arkansas. So that said, the issue is this: who will be the conducting authority? Which body will conduct the election, you know, to that office? So it still brings us back to the issue of idiosyncratic variables, the conduct of our leaders, the conduct of people in government. The NJC, more like, what the NJC does, I don't know how they go about the selection process, but I think it's all about hierarchy.
The seniority thing, yes.
In the seniority hierarchy. But the issue is, how do people get promoted by the NJC into judicial offices, prompting them ahead of time for particular positions? I mean, if you are in control of the NJC, you can actually begin to proposition somebody, you know, as CJN in the next 10 years, in the next 8 years, considering that if this person leaves, this person is the most senior. If this person leaves, this person is the most senior. You also discover that at certain occasions, when it is almost the turn of a particular zone of the country to produce the next CJN in terms of seniority and hierarchy, suddenly the person's
dismissed or something.
No, not just dismissed, but the person has reached the retirement age. You get the point. So if somebody is supposed to be the CJN by September, all of a sudden retires from Supreme Court in April, is it a process of, was the person rigged out? Why wasn't the appointment made prior to, you know, his retirement so that he could at least serve for 1 or 2 years? These are the central issues about appointing the CJN. These are the concerning issues about appointments, you know, particularly about the position of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, being the fact that it has terminal jurisdiction in almost all the matters, you know, all the judicial matters in Nigeria.
Well, going forward, I would say it's the way out of this is for INEC to for our laws to be in such a way that the issue of elections is concluded at the polls. If our laws empowers or INEC does the needful and elections and politicians behave right, elections are concluded at the polls, and you can say it is the will of the people, there'll be no need.
I think the essence is just about the process. If the process is free and fair, if the umpire creates a level playing field, you know, it becomes possible. But a situation where the elections are marked with irregularities, imposition, intimidation, and all of that. And I also like the fact that the police has said that they arrested some people that stole beavers machines. Moses, that should lead us to somewhere. You know what? It should lead us to somewhere. Because the essence of, I mean, Moses, if
we even be talking about stealing beavers, seeing the number of police
personnel
that
were involved, that were deployed to do election. No, I'm trying to look at it. I'm trying to look at the stealing of beavers from the intelligence angle of it. I mean, if people were arrested, you know, they should be able to, it should offer a trail to who sponsored you, Who asked you to go and steal the beavers? Were you stealing it because the beavers have suddenly become a point of sale machine? You want to start vending money? You want to start vending airtime? Or you want to start vending whatever? That is what we should find out. So it should trail an end to the sponsors of those thieves so that we know where the problem is coming from.
Well, in times past, we've seen those that were involved in election malpractice being, shown on social media, but then nothing is done. Some of them arrested, and still nothing is done.
Did you see a picture of the governor-elect kneeling before Godswill Akpabio and the other governors?
The governor-elect Edo State.
Of Edo State, yes.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't see it?
He knelt?
He knelt, to thank him. And he was standing in a row, with, I think, other governors.
He's been said to be a very humble person. So that could be an act of...
humility at display,
an act of humility. Could be.
Should they worry us about... Should Edo people be worried about...
Well, I think the same way I am worried when I remember what happened in Kogi State, where the governor, when he was elected, knelt down to present his certificate to his predecessor, and thanking him, of course, for ensuring that he won. So we saw, and now we've seen how that action is playing out, where the governor, the former governor of Kogi State, even though he has some allegations of 80.2 billion naira fraud hanging around his neck, he couldn't be arrested when EFCC came for him because the now sitting governor basically defended him, shielded him,
protective shield
protected him from arrest, and we've seen that play out. So, are we going to see a similar thing?
Looks like that is what, because I mean the analogy is very right.
Some said this is Oshomale's third term in office. Some have attributed it to that.
But Governor Obaseki revolted.
Revolted against what?
Against Oshomale. What I'm trying to say is that you can do all these things and be your own man at the end of the day.
But you could.
We also saw T.A. Oji revolt against OUK, Ojo Zokalo.
Yes,
we also saw Fashola tried to do it, but it didn't work.
In Rivers State.
Ambode tried to do it, it didn't work.
In Rivers State.
It's never worked.
It hasn't worked fully, but we're still going through it. In Rivers State.
So I think it's an early warning signal, and the people should watch out, should be on the watch out. They should be able to read dead ends, on time. Looks like it's either going to be father and son, doing good, or father and son fighting. And you know that when father and son fight, who suffers? The Edo people, like the people in River State are suffering now, whether they like it or not. That is what it is.
Two elephants in this, fight. It's the grass that suffers. All right. Before we run out of time, let's go to the Guardian newspaper. Now, there are some other headlines here. The one headline, Chukuma, I'd like us to, chime into this one for a little bit. Growing jobless, self-employed Nigerians deem tax potential. And then there's an overview. If we can have that one on the screen, let's have it. The Guardian, that is. And then there's an overview of the Nigerian labor market, where we have the working age population, side by side, labor force and not in labor, unemployed, employed. We have unemployed, we have 5.3%, employed part-time, 84%. Full-time employment, we have 73.2%. And then not in the labor force, we have not looking for work, 3.6%, as against unemployed on the other hand. Retired, 36.2%. That's a large margin. And then we have informal employment, 92.7%. This, of course, hits hard on the tax window. Those that should be taxed, those that fall within the tax bracket. This hits hard. So, in my opinion, I think government should do a whole lot. There's a lot of work to be done in this regard so that they can, reduce those that are within the marry those within the informal sector into the formal sector, and so that taxes can be, collected across board.
Moses, I don't know where the Guardian got these the figures from. I suppose it should be from the NBS. If it's from the NBS, will I have a problem with the percentage of unemployed people at 5.3%? Oh well, that's a part.
Do you have a problem with that?
I think it's way higher than that. Okay. It should be. Considering that, and also the issue of Moses, if you see a young man that leaves school, and sets up his device, whether it's his phone or whether it's his laptop, and he's doing he's trading on crypto. He's doing one kind of online job, not scam this time, some kind of legitimate online job, and he's using it to run his bills, to look good, pay his bills, support his parents as much as he can, his siblings and all of that. Where do we categorize that kind of person? Is he employed or unemployed?
Informal sector, yes.
Informal sector. The person is on the informal sector.
Informally employed, yes.
Okay, informally employed. So I think it's a bit nebulous, because nebulous in the sense that shouldn't that translate to, because if the person sets up a better system, you could also employ other people to work on that seamlessly on that particular track. Mm-hmm. But what is government doing to encourage that?
Well, we know that government is trying to tax a lot of.
I know. That is where this thing is coming. No, yes, that is where this thing is coming from. Because the government is clearly worried, because the drag net, the tax net, is gradually shrinking.
Yes.
Because they can't lay their hands on people who are formally employed.
But for those that are informal now, how do you tax them if you're not contributing to their businesses?
To their businesses. That is the major question.
If they have to provide power, if they have to provide everything with which they work, if they have to import equipment, for those that use laptops and the rest, they have to import some of these things, and they pay import duty on these things. At what point do you now tax them? We see that government is trying to tax, those within.
That's why they are. I think that's why they are turning policies on cybercrime levy. What again? There's another levy they put out the other day in the banking sector. But this transaction levy of that.
This will drive people further into using other sources of exchange, cryptocurrency. If transactions are done in crypto, will they be able to deduct those levies from those transactions?
Well, so long as you are not spending dollar in naira, even if you have to dematerialize it, from the dollar or from any foreign currency component to the naira, it will have to pass through the banking system, and that levy will apply to you. And probably that is why the government flew the kite about raising VAT, from 7.5% to 10%, because there are so many vatable items. If you quaff a bottle of beer, you're going to pay tax through VAT and all of that. But I'm concerned, like you said, that the government is trying to broaden the tax net without commensurate effort to ensure that the people, the productive sector, of the economy are properly encouraged and supported in one way or the other by provision of whether it is power,
basic things,
to drive the economy. I keep saying it because I've studied a little bit of big economies. Moses, what drives the economies are the small, medium enterprises,
of course.
Not the big corporations. The big corporations don't employ many. If you have Shell in Nigeria, Shell doesn't employ more than 5,000 Nigerians. But if you have like 3,000 SMEs that employ 10, 15, 20, if you have like 50,000 SMEs, out of our population of 200 million people, we have 50,000 SMEs that employ 5, 10 people every day. How much does that translate to? So you see, the economy becomes quite productive. The economy becomes quite productive and all of that.
All right, then. Let's just reel out and then wrap this up. Some other headlines from The Guardian. We have Tinubu advocates multilateralism, permanent UNSC seat, debt forgiveness. Senate resumes, urges action on economic security challenges. Judge recuses self from Nnamdi Kanu's treason trial. 5,225 slain officers' benefits costs police 15.6 billion naira in a year. And we hear that checks have been distributed to the families of these deceased police officers. NPR concerns over job cuts, food hike as CBN says, nation not yet out of the woods. Dangote advocates total subsidy removal. Okugbe disagrees. Police invite leader of October 1, hashtag end bad governance, planned protest. PDP warns against alleged ploy to rig Ondo Guba poll. Oh, well, these are the headlines from the paper. You want to react to
yes,
one?
Moses,
1 minute.
5,225 policemen slain. That's huge.
That's huge. Yes.
That's huge. It shouldn't be.
Over time.
Over time. No matter how long you look, even if it's in 10 years.
On the police force.
Police force. It's huge. Well, my heart goes out to the families of slain police officers. It shouldn't be. I'm also happy that the government has come out to say money is not enough,
yes.
but at least to show us some kind of sense of
compensation.
Compensation and sense of belonging to the people.
Oh well, that's it on the show. I'm Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful day.
My name is Chukwuma Okoro. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye for now.